Do you know how much the solar panels and stuff, they're charging LIPA or PSE&G per kilowatt?
We're unclear as to what your question is.
Right. So a couple of years ago, I went to the ISO, and what was happening was we were paying 10 cents per kilowatt from NYPA for power that was generated. But what I was getting was, for solar power, we were forcing PSE&G or LIPA to purchase solar power. All right, when they put and they were paying like 28 to 30 cents per kilowatt. So it's almost 3 times more because the technology isn't cheaper. Would you agree with that?
The upfront costs of solar are more than the upfront costs of simply bringing power in off the street for your new house.
Well,
if you use conventional electricity, yeah.
If you look at the courthouse in Central Islip, and they have all the solar panels there, that they leased the parking lot from the county, and PSE&G or LIPA, they're forced to buy the energy that's created by those solar panels. Correct?
Depends upon the particular installation, but frequently that is accurate, yes.
Right. If you're generating more power than you're using, then LIPA, we've forced LIPA
right.
or
That's
PSE&G.
the net metering concept, and that's correct, yes.
And the other problem is when you foil the records for LIPA to find out how much they're paying for, I don't know if you ever did this, find out how much they're paying per kilowatt or how much they're paying for the power when it comes to solar or anything else, what you'll get is redacted, and they tell you that the price that we're paying is a trade secret. Is there anything in this bill that would make them disclose how much we're paying per kilowatt?
The bill is not that fine-grained to the specific point that you are speaking. It does require reporting by the DEC to the legislature, by other agencies, NYSERDA and others, to the legislature to keep us apprised. And if there are abuses or variations that don't make sense, it gives us an opportunity to do our due diligence. I should also point out that we seem to be talking about solar here, which is appropriate because solar is a very significant part of our future. It has to be. We have to wean ourselves from fossil fuels, and the sun is in the southern sky every day.
Well, I could agree, but we're not watching how much money I tell people all the time, we call this green energy. And there's a reason that we call it green energy. It costs a lot of money. And sometimes it costs 3 times more than what we're paying for the others.
Well, let's be clear here. That's humorous. It's not entirely accurate. In fact, there are significant upfront costs, but amortized over the useful life of the equipment, that once it's installed, you make money.
Yeah, but Steve, we're not doing that. What we actually have is on Long Island, we have companies that are popping up. And basically what they're doing is installing solar panels. And the sole purpose for installing those solar panels are to generate and sell that electricity, right, to PSE&G and LIPA. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and in fact, I celebrate the fact that there are companies popping up, that there are new jobs being created, and that people are, despite the costs of upfront investment, are making that investment and thereby investing themselves into a long-term commitment to stay in our state, to reap the benefits of their investment over time, and in the larger sense, to help us collectively avoid having to build new power plants.
Well, the other thing
Great savings to the ratepayers.
well, I don't know about that, because what's happening now is also a lot of homeowners, the solar companies are coming to them and saying, listen, we will charge you, presently you're paying 19 cents per kilowatt, okay? If you allow us to put the solar panels on your house, right, you'll come down to 16%. This is one of their deals, 16 cents per kilowatt, and you'll have an increase of 2 cents each year.
Let me just ask you a question, may I?
Let me just finish, if you can. And they'll do this for 15 years. And most of the energy that they're talking about, what they're doing is they're selling it back to LIPA, or selling it back at a high rate. So, I mean, it's not really a savings to us. And the other thing you have to look at, do you know how much Suffolk County pays per month for electricity?
No, I don't really remember. I was a county legislator for 10 years, but I'm sure it's changed.
You have my condolences.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you.
My understanding is Suffolk County pays about $2 million a month for electricity. Right? Brookhaven pays over $500,000 a month for electricity.
I'm surprised if it's only $2 million a month, because at the University at Stony Brook, it's more than that.
Okay. The town of Islip, I think the last time I heard it was about $400,000 a month. And Sachem School District is about $250,000 or more a month. That's every month. Now, this all goes right to our taxes. All right? And what's happening now is if we keep pushing towards energy that's going to cost us 3 times more, those prices are going to go up. Wouldn't you agree?
Al, it will reduce costs. I think you have to do more than just look at the page that only deals with solar, for example, on an initial cost comparison basis. Please stand back and gather in the big picture. You don't have to build new power plants to meet peak demand. Most of our 40% of our demand on an annualized basis is during the hot summer. What if we have a power distributed system instead of a few power plants that we're dependent upon? We're going to pay either way up front, but over time, the solar option will give us more flexibility, lower costs, and, by the way, protect the environment. It will help reduce our carbon footprint. It will help reduce our need to bring natural gas from Texas and Oklahoma.
Well, we have a lot of natural gas here, right? But we're not going after the natural gas. I'm not talking about just this chamber. I know there's a lot of natural gas in this chamber. I'm talking about in New York that we're not tapping. It's tapped here all the time. Now, the hydro plant, the big hydro plant in Niagara Falls. I mean, is there anything looking to build another hydro plant?
Not unless we can build another Niagara River.
Right. Why is it that Canada...
We have a natural power site there because the Niagara River flows over an escarpment, and the power that is generated from the water falling is a natural source of power.
Yeah,
we have many waterfalls. There are, in fact, many projects all around the state attempting to upgrade the output of those natural sources, but nothing on the scale of Niagara.
Yeah,
Niagara is something else.
I looked at that, too, because we have a pact with Canada. 25% of the water goes to us, 25% goes to them. 50 goes over the falls in the daytime. Then we get 35, 35, and 30 goes over. But now Canada was talking about building another one, okay, and then selling the power to us. So, I mean, are we looking at that, saying, if they can do it, why can't we do it?
Well, Canada has many more sources of hydropower than we do. Hydro-Quebec is the project in the Quebec portion of Canada that is ready to sell us hydropower cheap.
Okay.
That they continue to build out that project. It's partially built out already, but they have natural resources that enable them to in a sense, market in a way that we can't for hydropower. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take advantage of the fact that we have great acreage of flat roofs, such as the one that was mentioned before at the Claire Rose facility in Bellport. We have vast amounts of flat roofs waiting for solar in Queens and in Brooklyn, in Nassau, in Suffolk, as well as across the face of the whole state.
Well, you understand my concern. I mean, when we're paying 10 cents per kilowatt, and you can call it upfront cost where we're going to be paying 3 times that, all right, which is going to increase the cost on the county, increase the cost on the towns, increase the cost on the schools, increase the cost on businesses, increase the cost on non-for-profits. I mean, the bottom line is the price of electricity on Long Island, we're getting strangled.
Well, what is the cost of not taking action,
well,
not moving forward with an initiative to meet this omnipresent threat? If all we do is look at whether it costs more this morning on this particular date of June 1st in the year 2016, and that's the only thing we look at, and we don't stand back and look at the bigger pattern of what happens and what the costs are of bringing a superheated ocean into causing storms to knock down our trees on our power lines. What are those costs?
Well,
they're energy related, but we have an opportunity to begin to address the larger problem.
Well, there's a breaking point, and there comes a time where we have to monitor the cost that we're paying. And, you know, when they tell me that it's a trade secret, we're not allowed to be told.
Well, I'm not going to defend the Long Island Power Authority. I have a number of concerns. For example, I'll give you one. So we share concerns in that same general policy direction. I am disappointed that LIPA has, for example, authorized a number of solar projects in places that they can't be built.
Oh, we had one around the corner for me. But my problem is, you have to understand, if we're not controlling what we're paying for this, if we can't even know what we're paying for this because they're saying it's, companies are saying it's a trade secret, my concern is the taxes are so high now, and the cost of electricity has a direct impact on the cost of living on Long Island. All right? So I have grandparents that have to visit one child in Florida. They have to visit another child in Georgia because they can't afford to stay here. Right? I have people that are retired that are being told you have to sell your house because you can't afford to live in it anymore. The costs have just gone through the roof. You know, I'm lucky my children are still there, but I don't know how long they're going to be able to hang in. And my biggest problem is if we keep driving up the cost of electricity, right? We're drying up jobs. We're drying up.
This actually, I heard you describe how it is actually creating lots of jobs. Look, please take and sharpen your pencil and look at what the real costs are. The real costs of not taking action far exceed the costs of moving forward. And we're talking mostly about solar. I'd like to continue that discussion, but we're really looking at a wide range of options, a 34-year time frame for utilizing all of the tools. I'll give you one tool, for example, that I don't see very much in use on Long Island, which offers great potential, and that is to use solar on the roof to drive a motor to pump groundwater, which comes up with the ambient temperature of the air, and then you can heat it or cool it to useful temperatures for your home. Hardly anybody uses heat
Yeah,
pumps
my problem
driven by
is
solar.
nobody's-
Graf, your time is up.
Yeah,
You can
nobody's
come back
going
for
to-
a second.
2 seconds. Nobody's going to be here to
Mr.
pay
Graf,
for
your
it.
15 minutes are up.